Good morning, guys. Got the Nacet today. Looks like this is going to be shave 290. Pretty wild. Getting close. All right. Williams Mug is my soap of choice, and I'll bet many guys out there are going to be doing the same thing because today is CuratedShaveForum's day, and that is a subreddit that has taken other clips from throughout the shaving world. I've read a good many of them, and Curated seems to be they're taking some. It's very tongue-in-cheek, kind of making fun of a lot of things. Sometimes pointing out how a shaver is just being ridiculous. Sometimes just pointing out funny things, and so now why that matches up with the day in which we're using Williams. I know they've done some Williams posts, about here's this guy who only uses Williams and, different things like that. So maybe that's the link. But I get a real kick out of that that forum. And so Williams, that is the only soap in my area that I can find at a big box store, at a pharmacy, grocery store, and I can only find it at a few grocery stores. When I first started out wet shaving several years ago, it was available at my local Walmart. I saw it every week, but it's backed off since then, I reckon. Now, at Walmart, I did pick up this early in my shaving journey, and I believe, doesn't have any designation, but I believe it's a Burma shave. And it's like a nylon brush. It's a synthetic. Oh, look at that. Now, that's probably dust, actually, because it has sat up in my shelf up there in the very back for a long time. Yeah, that's just normal dust. That's not old shave soap. That's pretty funny. Little special effects there. But this is actually a really soft brush. It's got, the backbone is not so stiff, at least as I recall. And so Burma Shave, I bought it I didn't need it at the time. I had another brush that I was using and enjoying, but this just had such a classic look with it that it was just sitting there staring at me every time I browsed the shave area at Walmart. And so I just decided to pick it up. And I did use it for a while, but I believe I moved on quickly to something else. And so I didn't use it for a long time. And so it's one of the few synthetics, at least last time I used it, based on that, that I actually enjoy using. Most of them are too stiff, kind of shove my face around like the tuxedos, and even the things like the cashmeres and even the timber wolves if they're not mounted super high. I didn't have I didn't really want to use my Vanderhagen razor that we got from Walmart years ago, and so I picked this little ubiquitous razor. So often you see flare tips on eBay. You don't really see them too much in the SOTD posts in the Reddit forums, and you might see them on Wicked Edge a little bit. And so this is just such a classic, though. It comes in different. You got red tips, blue tips, black tips here, and so I thought this would be a good one. Now, and last time I used it, it didn't seem like it really gave the blade a lot of grip, and so that's why I kind of put it in the background. Haven't used it very much. It had more of a scrapey feel to it, instead of the 40s style, for instance, which doesn't have a flare tip. It just comes straight this way, and it's knurled instead of this pattern. Now, I like this pattern, really cool. I like this pattern a lot. Now, here's my Nacet. Let me show you the dots so you know it's the same Nacet that I've been using. As you can see, it's a twist to open razor. Doesn't have a whole lot of exposure. All right, now, yesterday, the challenge was to Pajit the soap. And that's a great guy, IMSMS, That's his handle on Reddit as well as YouTube, I believe. And he published a video maybe a year ago. And his line was, "Here's why your lather is crap." Well, you know, of course, that's kind of an attention getter. But he was talking to all those dry shave guys that he sees out there. A lot of YouTubers do it that way. And I've also complained about the condition of the shave verse out there and how so many people are being shown really dry lathers. And if that's what you want to do, okay. But I really encourage you to give a wet lather, really wet lather, a try. Just to me, it works so much better. Now, he's a face latherer. If you recall, I don't know, a month or two ago, I did some face lathering attempts, and I did find a pretty good pattern to go with. But the process of adding water, it's easy to get it on your face, the concentrate. Then you start working water in. As you start to get to a place where I really like my hydration, the lather just starts to leave your face because it's getting more hydrated, more loose. And for me, it was very frustrating. And so I actually like my lathers a little wetter than even Mr. Pajit, Mr. IMSMS. And so I don't use that method. It's a little frustrating for me because as I add more water, it just starts leaving my face and flying off. And so that's why I don't use that method. Plus, his method uses up a lot of soap. My bowl lathering that I go for doesn't use up very much soap. Now, you saw my den tour. I've got a huge soap collection. I could afford to accelerate through that a little quicker, right? But I just don't like using quite that much per shave. And so that's another reason that I don't do that method. So I've had this Williams puck soaking with a little bit of water on top. I encourage you to do that with Williams if you haven't used it in a while. Now, it does retain a little bit of water, and so if you use it day after day, that's when you're really going to see Williams start to get easier to lather and start to shine. Now, to Pajit, as far as I know, this is a synthetic, so I don't have to soak it or anything like that. And so what I'm going to do is just start working. Now, it took him, I think I timed it. It took him about 6 minutes from the time he started this kind of thing to the time he was ready to put razor to face. He had lathered up everything, you know. Now, I've probably got too much water here. And so do I need to pour any of this? Yeah, let's do that. Okay. So watched his video a few times. And his style is very similar to the Marco method. If you've never tried it, I do encourage you to try the Marco method. Just search, I believe there's a post on Badger and Blade by Marco himself maybe, or somebody else. And it's a method where and I've done it on my channel a few times, where you come at the soap with a really wet brush. And you just start. You're great with a soap like Sterling. I tried it with Sella and a boar brush, and it was not very good. The Sella did not like all that water in the brush. But and see right now, look at the lather we're building up. It's already kind of starting to look more like lather. He said keep going until it's pasty, that sort of thing. This is a narrow mug. This is called a Hazel Atlas mug. It's a kind of a vintage classic. You'll see it on eBay a good bit. Perfect size for a Williams puck. I believe it's specifically a shaving mug. So this is getting to be pretty good looking. I don't know if it's going to be pasty or anything like that. So the Marco method, come at it with a really wet brush, As you swirl, let only the tips touch. And then you're going to build up this slurry. And the idea is that as you start working it on your face, all that water in the brush is going to start to combine with all the soap that you loaded up. And make your lather for you. And some people have definitely reported switching to the Marco method and just instantly improving their lather skills. And so it really works for some people. Some people claim it's pretty bulletproof, great for newbies. I think it is great for new people to try it. You may really like it. Now we are starting to get a little thicker. Just a long load is what Pajit does. He's also known around the sub. Somebody gave him the title of the Indian lather god, the ILG. Yeah, this is, look at the pillowiness here. It's starting to firm up. More soap is being pulled up from the puck and brought into the kind of the lather here. Now I discovered a puck of Williams would last me 60 shaves, 2 months. $1.20 for 2 months of shaving, that's pretty good. And all my lathers were good, and some of them were just amazingly creamy, so much so that I just couldn't believe it, you know. And people who say that Williams doesn't perform well, they've never gotten to that point, I guarantee it. You may disagree about the scent, that's one thing. Doesn't have much scent now, this one's been sitting out. All right, well, let's just assume that we have got kind of a Pajit style slurry here. Not slurry, but paste. It's not that way, but you know, I think it'll take forever. So let me wet my face. Which I really should have done earlier as well. A little off today due to the different lathering style. All right, so with the Marco, man, you take it to your face kind of like this. And one of my problems with the Marco method was, you know, if your brush holds a lot of water, see this action here presses the brush. And so sometimes that can just empty out a lot of that water. Very frustrating. Now, I don't know exactly how the Pajit method differs from the Marco. He said it was a modified Marco in his video. He's a great guy, by the way. Now we can see that this is kind of thick and pasty. Look at that texture on my neck right there. If you see that on any soap even, you know, I must be talking really loud since I'm so close, I'm sorry. If you see that kind of lumpy, clumpy pastiness, regardless of what soap you have, then you know that it's too thick. You need to gotta add some water. Okay, so let's start doing that. Now he likes to add water through kind of dribbles on the brush. I like to add water via the syringe, but let's just kind of get a little trickle of water going here. I want to try to make it a little trickle so that it's not too loud for you guys. And we'll just start adding water. And I'm going to stop before I normally stop. Because if I get it as wet as I like it, it'll get messy. And I think, you know, part of this might be, part of the experiment here might be, does the Pajit method, is that, you know, practically speaking, does it feel too dry during the shave? I know to a lot of people it doesn't. And as you keep working the lather, it's going to increase in volume because you're adding water. And so that's going to start to come out the side of the brush. And it's got to go somewhere. let's go ahead and keep adding water. It is a lot of brush work. So if you've got a brush that you enjoy having on your face, that might be the kind to try with this method. The tips aren't super soft on this brush, but the backbone is nice. It's not shoving me around or anything like that. As the lather, that's one thing about a thick lather. Sometimes it can mask the attributes of a brush. You can think that a brush is really soft when it's not. Now we're starting to get some really good slickness here as we keep adding water. Now already I am much messier than he was on his video. His shirt had like one blob at the end of the shave. I'm not saying messy's wrong, but I think that's just one of the, you know, he just likes his more dry than I like mine. See, this is a nice, creamy, good-looking lather. I think there are lots of people who think you can't really get this kind of lather from Williams. And this is modern Williams. This is not the vintage stuff that is a little easier to make a good lather. And in fact, the lather is probably a little better because it had more tallow back then. If you don't know, add a little more water. If you don't know whether you have a vintage puck or a modern one, I think it was about 2005, 4, something like that, that I think people are saying that they reduced some of the tallow in Williams. Potassium stearate, I believe, if that's the first ingredient, then it's the new version. Vintage versions can go for $13 a puck on eBay. In a way, it's worth it if you like performance. And, you know, for me, it's 60 days of shaving. And for some people, that's what, you know, something like Barrister and Man will give you. So if you like that old-timey soapy scent, it actually might not be all that extravagant. I mean, despite the fact that it didn't cost nearly that much, you know, when it was sold in the retail. Now we have got just tons of this lather concentrate all over my face. I definitely would like a lather that's thinner than this. Let's see, this I've got a lot of soap used here. All right. So let's kind of clear the unshavable areas. And man, you can feel the slickness. If you wonder about Williams, this is actually a good method to get to a really slick place where you can realize, wait a minute, there's something more to Williams than this airy lather that I get. That airy lather, probably, if you get a bubbly kind of wet lather that's really airy, number one, you probably just need to keep mixing. Number two, if you mix for a few minutes and it doesn't improve, you probably loaded too little soap, so load a little bit more next time. I am a fan of Williams. Matter of fact, when Williams was the soap, yeah, see, this just feels too dry. Williams is the soap that I used when I first started this blade, this Nacet, back in 2018. I'm getting a little bit of tugging, a little bit more audio than I usually get with razors that do a little better job at clamping down close to the edge, you know. I'm getting a little bit more vibration than that. But here's the little story while we're doing some shaving. And light touches always. I was planning on doing the austere August with my puck of fine santal. I didn't really see fine accoutrements. They're hard soaps getting a lot of love. On the forums, and so I thought, hey, let me represent that soap with a 30-day usage, during austere August. Well, I didn't look far enough ahead, and I found myself on day 1 of austere August visiting my family, being away, my extended family, and being away. And so I didn't have access to my puck of fine, and I was really disappointed. So I was like, well, what can I do? It's too late for me to, I wasn't going to next day air, anything to myself, but order online or whatever. See, this is very pasty, so let's rejuvenate this brush with some water. And see, all this work here, with a bowl, this is not necessary, because you don't have to reconstitute anything, because it all started out the same way. So I think that's one of the problems with the overloading folks, and Mr. Pajita is an overloader, using lots of soap. Well, of course, compared to me, he's an overloader, right? But let's be objective. If that's the amount that he likes to use, then I don't guess he'd call himself an overloader, would he? See, the lather's starting to look better. So I was, stranded. So I went to the local grocery store, probably a few of them, try to find what I could. Dribbles of water, several drops at a time is what I'm doing. And I found a store, a local Ingles, with Williams. So I bought it, and that was the soap I used for all of August, and it was really it might have been my first time using it. It may not have been. I probably tried out a puck before then, but they were all back home, Okay, there. All right, so I went and got the Williams puck, and I figured, hey, well, at least I could. Yeah, I definitely used Williams before, and I had gotten a reasonable lather out of it, and I was watching and hearing people say bad things about William. A lot of people say it's just a junk soap. Now this, very comfortable, now that I've taken down a lot of the hairs. And I thought, well, hey, at least I will have a good time this month learning how to lather Williams really well. And because it does give good performance, maybe I could help people appreciate it more. And I've definitely heard from folks online on my YouTube channel, and I've just seen posts from people that, they use it. Not because of me necessarily, but it's still, for many people, an active soap that works for them. It's definitely got a classic soapy scent. When it's brand new, it's a citronella scent. And when it's brand new, it's very strong. But I just leave my puck uncovered in a mug, and in a couple days that scent is reduced very much, and it resembles just a light soapy scent. All right, so that's pass number 2. I kind of did it with the grain on my cheeks. Hopefully I don't have to reconstitute this one. Leaving some water on my face probably helped me to And this lather is definitely thicker than I might normally go, but it does show you just how slick Williams can get. So because I shaved yesterday before the challenge was announced, the daily surprise challenge, that's why I'm doing it today. I'm running a little bit late today, and so I had an actual chance to look at today's challenge, and it's going to be easy for me at least, because it was be nice, only say positive things, because they realized that a lot of people would be using Williams today, and so they thought it would be somebody said this is going to be the toughest, might be the toughest challenge of the day. Now, if you like your lathers drier than I do, like Mr. Pajit, then I think this is a pretty good way to go. Because he didn't end up with a big old shirt full of lather. I'm definitely going to try to leave some water on my face there to help out with this final pass. I'm not going to rinse out my goatee. Maybe it'll help to keep the lather from getting pasty. One of the advantages to the overloading is that you have so much concentrate on your brush, and you can see how I haven't really had to go back to the puck. And there we go. 4 passes. I mean, I did go back to the mug. My brush is sitting in the mug right now, and so some of that lather that was in the walls of the mug instead of on the brush, is able to be picked up, So Mr. Pajit, just wanted to kind of honor you with a Pajit style shave, even though I knew it was not likely to be one that I preferred. But you know what? Many folks like him did it my way on day one. Besides, we can learn stuff, right? We'll take some beard leather, and then this final little touch of very comfortable shave. Just like I said, a little tugginess on that first pass. And we'll see in a minute once I rinse how close I was able to get. And this one, not as, I bought one of those TV specials, which looks the same as this, but the knurling pattern here is different. I don't think it has the lateral guys like this. It only has vertical ones. It was a little scrapey. Now, one thing about this thicker, drier lather like this is it can hide a little bit of aggression in your razor. And so I'm not surprised, it's a theory of mine, that a lot of guys, I like mild razors. Well, my lathers are thinner. My lathers are more hydrated. And a lot of guys like the mid-range or even more aggressive razors. Well, maybe that's because their lathers are thicker and drier. They need more of an exposed edge to dig through that lather. Just a theory I'm working on. All right, I'm going to rinse. Now, that's not really a great shave. Doesn't look like this razor is a good match. It's a good shave. I think a lot of jobs would be fine with it, but it's quite a bit of length here. Not quite a bit, but more than you want to see, kind of giving you a little bit of a shadow effect right there. So I don't really feel like doing another touch-up pass. I did 4 passes, and I did hit that area a couple times, so it looks like maybe this razor just is not a good razor for a 290 use Nacet for my skin. All those variables are coming to play at once. Butterfly barn door type TTO twist to open razor. Set the blade aside, and then with these guys, I like to just run a little corner of a towel around them. And there we go. There may be some guys who talk about the dryness of Williams and how it dries out their skin. because they're probably not adding enough water to their lather. I have definitely experienced dryness and almost like a prickling, almost like bubbles popping, the dryness afterwards. And I could feel my skin kind of tightening because, and that's why, I only did that. That only happened to me when I had a lather that needed water. And so that's a sign that your Williams is not wet enough if you're experimenting. Not super dense. Just I don't know, nylon, synthetic. It definitely doesn't have the modern synthetics have a texture to the shafts of the bristles. And I think it aids in lather production. And these bristles are smooth. And so I think it was made and conceived before the new synthetic knots really became popular, would be my guess. But I could use it every day. Feels good. It's not luxurious, but it gets the job done. It's comfortable and it works well. All right, well, that was Williams. What's left in the mug there. We did it Pajit style. Now, what can I get at the drugstore or the grocery store for post-shave? Well, there we go. We usually have more options there. And one of the ones that I used for a while, Nivea. It's really a pretty good product. This is the original. And so it has alcohol in it. The sensitive stuff that says sensitive that looks like this doesn't have alcohol. Just got a decent scent to it. There are balms that are better. The Aqua Velva 5-in-1 is one that's at a lot of the big box stores that performs really well. I get that advice from a fellow shaver who has dry skin, and so he knows his stuff about this. The Duke Cannon stuff is pretty good, he says. Even that the caffeinated stuff that you see is pretty good, but a lot of those have menthol, and I'm not a fan of that. So I haven't tried those out. And there we go. There we go. So there is use number 290. How about that? We've hit another little mini milestone on our way to the big 300. And I just wanted again to say thank you to Pajit. Thank you to SMS for his contributions. Right now, he is contributing heavily to the sub, spending hours each day poring over the hundreds of posts that are being put in the daily threads, because he's a judge in the lather games. And the judges did not see how many people were going to be joining the lather games this year. They just didn't expect that many. It's a lot more than last year. A lot of newbies. And so it is a challenge to do what they're doing right now. So they need our blessing and support. Figure out a way to give them something, because they are really spending a lot of their time on this thing that we're doing. But other than that, he is still contributes greatly to the sub. He's got several videos on his IMSMS channel. Check those out if you like this style of shaving. And even if you don't, this is not my preference, but give this kind of method a try, because you can learn some different things about the whole process that could improve your shave, even if you fall back to something that's a different style. So thank you so much for all you do for this sub. Pajit, it's wonderful to have you around. You're a quality dude. We're actually shaving before work today, in the morning instead of nighttime. And while I let things kind of dry and stuff, I went and started to change clothes and took my shave shirt off. And so I got the white back on. I'm ready for work. So there we go. Face feels good. It does feel a little drying, probably because of that concentrate. But there we go. There we go. That was for you, sir. SMS. Thanks so much for everything you do. That razor, I think I'm going to try it. I'm going to put it on my list to try after the lather games with a younger blade. See how he performs, because he wasn't nearly as scrapey, and maybe that was because of the lather, but we'll try it again. It's a classic. There are just so many out there. They can be had for a song on eBay, as long as you look for one that's not rusty, things like that. A lot of the corrosion can be easily removed with a toothbrush and some Dawn, and maybe boiling it with a little bit of Dawn dishwashing liquid in it. That can loosen up a lot of that stuff and take some of these old razors to a really good point for you if you ever want to do that. There we go. Williams. The only soap that was a choice for me. There were some gels that I could have gotten at the grocery store, like I think Neutrogena, and of course Cremo is everywhere. It's not it's a brushless, I believe. I've heard it doesn't really perform all that great. Everyman Jack is there in cream format. So there's a few things out there. I haven't really heard which ones of those are good options, but I do know Williams is. If I had to shave with that one, I'd be happy. And I did have to soak it, but it retains water, and so if you use it every day, then you don't have to soak it. You can just come with it with a normally wet brush and whip up your lather pretty easy. Well, I hope there's something good in this video for you. This is Sugar Daddy Shaves. You take care and have a good day.